Hi, and thanks for staying with us right here on Bernama TV. I'm Jared Ratnam. We begin Bernama World with this. If you haven't read about it, Thailand and Cambodia agreed to an immediate and unconditional ceasefire, and this is amid rising tensions along their disputed border. Now, most of us can't understand or wrap our heads around that concept, but we'll get into that shortly. Now, this follows a special meeting held in Putrajaya yesterday. Malaysian Prime Minister Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim announced the agreement after chairing the meeting between Thailand and Cambodia at Sri Perdana Complex in Putrajaya. Now, to dive deeper into PMX's diplomacy in securing the Cambodia-Thailand truce, YUSMADI YUSOFF, chairman of the Rights Foundation and author of Anwar Ibrahim, Global Justice and Peace Through Dialogue, joins me via phone. YUSMADI, thank you very much for doing this. Now, you've written extensively about Anwar Ibrahim's leadership style, one rooted in justice, dialogue and civilization values. Now, his role in mediating the ceasefire seems to reflect much of that philosophy in action. The question is, what do you think allowed Anwar Ibrahim to gain the trust of both parties in this conflict? YUSMADI?
Yeah, the way I look at it, because it is not overnight things, Anwar has gained trust over the years because he's been engaging the region, the leaders, the country since he was young. And what the plus point today is that he has a third legitimacy as a chairman of ASEAN, one more as a head of a state. And Malaysia, in general, known a country who always enjoy great trust by those in the East and the West. So I think that actually what makes the mediation successful.
Now, how does this ceasefire reflect the moral and dialogical leadership model you've described in your book? Yes,
the way I look at it, I distinguish Anwar approach compared to other typical diplomacy because he always push for understanding rather than the preconceived outcome. What I mean by that is that, for example, in this context, we are talking about two countries with different understandings, with different local trajectory. But he take a stand whereby he play a role to mediate and try to not to predict the outcome out of it. But he instilled the big picture, which is this region needs to be a peaceful region. So the way I look at it, historically, again, for example, he's been pushing for Islam and Confucianism dialogue. He's been pushing for Islam and Christianity dialogue, and he continued again through his Madani vision, whereby it go beyond transactional diplomacy.
Now, do you believe this success should push ASEAN to adopt more of a proactive, value-driven diplomacy moving forward?
Moving forward, I think we should, because where we are now, we are talking about ASEAN being pushed to make a choice. For example, by the power that be. It can be the superpower like China. It can be the superpower like America, Russia. So for me, what we supposed to do is in words of diplomacy, we need to encourage more restraint. We need to encourage more dialogue. We need to encourage more trust. And so much so, when we get the legitimacy, especially by the people, then I think they will be much easier to build a consensus. So I think value-based, the Banani approach, for example, where the idea of compassion being pushed into negotiation table, so it go beyond a typical sectional outcome of diplomacy. So I think knowing this region, which consists of multi-religion, multi-ethnics, I think the civilization approach advocated by our Prime Minister can be further, I would say, cherished or I would say further leveraged by the community in the region.
Right. I know time's running out for you. You've got another engagement. But very quickly, for those of us who can't wrap our heads around the concept as to the work being done by Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim, or PMX as we fondly know him in Malaysia, for people living outside Malaysia who don't understand the fragility of the work he's doing in Malaysia, how would you explain it very simply?
I just want to simply put what Prime Minister tried to do now, that he's sending a message, look here, we need to revisit the idea of diplomacy beyond transactional, because the world is uncertain with so many things, so parochial or so many new dynamics. So what he tried to push, look here, let's sit down again, listen more rather than to talk more. So I think what he tried to do, dialogue is the way, and I think the way he's projecting Malaysia can be a global hub for dialogue, and let's talk and listen more so that we can understand more to each other and build the global community again.
Right, I know you're fighting for time and you have an event to attend. We will let you off here. YUSMADI Yusoff, Chairman of the Rights Foundation and author of Anwar Ibrahim, Global Justice and Peace Through Dialogue. Join us through phone or via phone right here from Kuala Lumpur now to further discuss this success brokered by Malaysia as the ASEAN chair this year. Pete NICOLL joins me via Zoom from the federal capital. Also, Pete's Malaysia's diplomatic role in brokering a ceasefire between Cambodia and Thailand is being viewed as a bold and rare move. Now, it signals something deeper about Malaysia's evolving place in regional affairs. Now, the question is this. What does Anwar Ibrahim's mediation signal about Malaysia's foreign policy direction under his leadership? Pete?
Good afternoon, Gerard. What we are seeing here is really soft power and regional leadership. Malaysia's move to mediate between Thailand and Cambodia reflects a strategic use of soft power, leveraging diplomacy, neutrality and moral credibility, rather than economic or military might, as we might expect to see from countries outside of Asia. Mr. Anwar Ibrahim's personal involvement sends a very clear message that Malaysia is willing to be a proactive problem solver in the region. Historically, as we know, Malaysia has played similar roles in southern Thailand, in the Mindanao peace process in the Philippines, and in attempts to address the Rohingya crisis. And these efforts have given Malaysia a track record of constructive engagement. So by stepping in again now, Prime Minister Anwar is reviving that legacy and signalling that Malaysia can once again be a first call facilitator in Southeast Asian disputes, and also reinforces the idea of Malaysia as a bridge builder, a country that, while not dominating the region, contributes significantly to regional stability and trust building, Gerard.
Now, is this an example of Malaysia leaning into soft power, and does this align with or challenge ASEAN's traditional role of quiet diplomacy, Pete?
Yeah, one of the pillars of ASEAN is the principle of ASEAN centrality. The belief that Southeast Asian nations should resolve their own issues internally without being driven by the agendas of larger global powers and without the influence of non-Asian players such as the United States. So by initiating and hosting ceasefire talks, Malaysia is putting this principle into action. It strengthens the idea that ASEAN members can rely on one another to resolve disputes rather than turning to outside actors. So this helps keep Southeast Asia's strategic autonomy intact, especially amid rising US-China tensions. And if Malaysia succeeds in brokering agreements, it may well inspire other ASEAN nations to take bolder diplomatic roles in regional crisis rather than defaulting to passive stances or external dependence. And as a result of Malaysia's mediation, we are now seeing Malaysia coordinate an ASEAN observer team to monitor and verify the ceasefire implementation, and that there are also consultations between fellow ASEAN member states planned to expand regional support. So this, of course, also brings into play domestic political leverage here in Malaysia. There are domestic advantages for the Prime Minister Anwar. By taking the initiative in foreign affairs, he positions himself as a regional statesman, leader, and influence broadly. And that international profile can be at home, especially when there can be domestic politics that fragment. So a successful mediation would allow Prime Minister Anwar to present himself not just as a reformist, technocrat, but as a leader who is shaping the direction of ASEAN diplomacy. And it fits in with his broader foreign policy narrative as well, Gerard.
Well, we can't seem to tell if you have a problem with your 4, 5 or 3G, but very quickly, let me just move you into this. Could Malaysia's involvement raise expectations or even backlash from other ASEAN members or regional powers? You know how we're picking on each other every so often. Do you think this might happen?
The move without risk, Gerard, if the talks between Thailand and Cambodia are seen as performative rather than substantive, Malaysia's credibility could take a hit. So neutrality must be maintained. If one side perceives bias, trust will quickly evaporate. Moreover, the mediation will be closed to international stakeholders and the ASEAN Secretariat. Failure could reduce Malaysia's ability to play similar roles in future conflicts. But that said, even symbolic progress could be considered a diplomatic win. The key will be whether Malaysia can facilitate meaningful steps towards full de-escalation without appearing overreaching or partisan. And we think that the announcement of an unconditional ceasefire last night has certainly reduced the risk level, but the coming days and months will see if it holds, as this is a significant but first step in the process of normality between the nations at conflict, Gerard.
Right, very quickly, before we let you go, we've got about a minute left. How do you think markets are doing this week within the region? If you could just walk us through very briefly, what are markets looking like this week? Pete?
Very briefly, there are significant global issues that are impacting markets. This is not something that's going to impact markets greatly. It's a localized event on the border of Thailand and Cambodia. It's away from major urban centres, and actually it's a bit of a sort of handbags at dawn, but with bombs type of scenario. So we don't see a lot of issue in the markets with regards to this particular conflict. There are many bigger global issues that are causing the uncertainty and stress.
Thank you very much. Pete NICOLL there joining us right here from the federal capital, Kuala Lumpur.
Thank you.
To give us an insight as to what he thinks or what he sees with regards to the ceasefire between Cambodia and also Thailand and Malaysia mediating that, or to be exacting, the Prime Minister of Malaysia, Dato' Sri Anwar Ibrahim. Now, in a time where public trust and national direction are top of mind for many Malaysians, it's often the quieter voices that catch our attention. Voices not from the halls of power, but from the everyday spaces, the kopitiams, the family WhatsApp chats, the shop lots and food courts. One of those voices belongs to AMARJEET Singh, or AJ, a Malaysian consultant who recently shared a personal note online titled "From the Kopitiam to the Kedai Runcit, a thank you to the Prime Minister of PMX." It resonated with many, not because it was loud, but because it was honest and grounded in everyday experience. Today on Bernama World, we speak with AJ. He joins us not as a political figure or policymaker, but as a citizen who felt a shift and decided to speak up. AJ, thank you so much for taking time off to be with us. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, my friend. And also, little did I know that I'll be having one of my schoolmates in the studio with me today. Now, you wrote a piece that clearly struck a chord with a lot of people. Why did you feel the need to say thank you to the Prime Minister? This was somewhere last week, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
What prompted it?
Thanks, Gerard. Okay. The thing is, in Malaysia, we come from a very well civic-minded community. When somebody does good, first we say thank you to him. So the gratitude is to the Prime Minister because he's actually given something back to society. What prompted me was this. While I'm sitting down in the mamak shop, right across a grocery shop, I'm actually looking at a old lady counting coins just to buy some essential stuff for herself. So with the Prime Minister's recent announcement of the 100 ringgit, how far can it go for this kind of public itself? Okay, not underlining anybody, but let's, before we debate all these in our conversations further on, thank the Prime Minister first. Across statesmen, people comes first. That's the policy that I'm actually looking at, how he's moving forward. Yeah.
So you think, so there's a lot of, on the back of his announcement, there's a lot of people, a lot of naysayers saying that, 100 ringgit only, I mean, how do you feel about that? Because you certainly don't feel that way.
Okay. 100 ringgit for people stays in the city centres to say, 100 ringgit, apa beza in Malay, right?
Right?
Because we're all Malaysians. So 100 ringgit for a B40, he stretches 50 ringgit for the whole week to provide enough food or essentials on the table. What can 100 ringgit do for him? Now, some of us has 4 or 5 kids. how can that 100 ringgit help him on the table? If the government did not announce this 100 ringgit and did not back the petrol price itself, and not helping the Malaysians as being Malaysians, so for say, will I be having lesser money to purchase food on the table or put food on the table itself? I'm not doing what the Prime Minister announced. He's not doing what Brim did. Brim did is a very small reach of people. He's doing the large community itself. Either you're staying in Sabah, either you're staying in Sarawak, Kelantan, Terengganu, Kedah, Johor, in material where you are. As a Malaysian, you're 18 and above, you're going to get this benefit. So overall, across the board, that's 2 billion into the market itself. So what happens? Movement? What do you call manufacturers will be affected. The shops will be affected. Everybody is to gain because the cycle will start. Yeah.
Now, you're not in government, you're not in politics, you work in consulting. From that perspective, what direction do you see the country heading in? You know, what do you, I mean, you consult a lot of people, you talk to a lot of people, you also talk to policymakers, you talk to politicians too.
Yep.
Yeah, and you've done a lot of work. I mean, I looked at your resume and it's extensive. You've done a lot of work in the public and private sector space. So I guess the question is, what direction do you see the country heading in?
Okay. We used to have countries run a lot of things, firefighting. Then we had the 5 Malaysia year plans and so forth. But what the current government is doing is structured approach to actually have everyone inclusive in the politics itself. So not only a certain group or certain targets, bringing everybody as a whole society to gain of all the policies they are making. So that's the biggest idea, that a politician can actually do it. And looking at it from Anwar's point of view, from even the transport minister, this is the same government who introduced the touch and go 50 ringgit unlimited usage. Why? I do not want to burden my citizen. I do not want my citizen to have extra expenses that's unrelated. So how do I help them? By controlling certain expenses. So this is what he's actually doing. Right. So if we look at it, deliverables is happening. It will take time. It's only 2.5 years they're in power. How far are we going to go? And this is the government we're looking at. Will they do more? I will perceive, yeah, they will do more. Right.
But when you came up with that, and I'm working off script here, when you came up with that write-up you did on social media, that post about the Prime Minister, did you get any backlash from it? People saying, you know, maybe you're trying to be nice to the government, budik kerajaan, you know, like as we say in Malaysia, you know, did you get comments like that?
Some people say I'm offending everybody. Let's be very frank. There are pros and cons to everything you say. So if I write something, I'm actually going to be a neutral person, to be a critic. But I'm going to be very frank. You congratulate, you thank somebody when somebody does a good job. Right? When somebody needs a critic, criticize the person. Okay? So it's all about improvement. But at the end of the day, we all look at the picture as this. Somebody who's sitting in an office behind a bungalow and he's criticizing 100 ringgit. What can it affect a normal person on the street? The answer is simple. 100 ringgit might not affect him, but 100 ringgit is going to help that B40 group, the M40 group. It's going to help everybody who's been targeted now. Overall, everyone. So critics, they will come. Why are you loving him so much or what? Nah. At the end of the day, he did something good. Let's praise him. That's at the end of the day, what's expected from him. But do provide your critics with what you call development plans, or with proposals that probably you could do this better, or probably you could do this, enhance it further. So that's the mechanics they have to put in play. So, but everybody comes and criticize the government, put them down, change the. Is that the way are we going forward?
Right. So criticize the government, put them down, change the Prime Minister. That's what we hear, but we don't hear someone coming up with a solution. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Explain, please.
Okay. For example, good example. If I did not manage the petrol price today, okay, if Bank Negara did not announce the interest rates management the last 2 weeks, the interest rates itself, okay, and then if I don't, everybody's talking about electricity hike, and now he said electricity will not go up, toll will not go up. The same person who goes to work every day, he's going to spend $600 on petrol every month, for example, $400 on his what do you call toll gates and so forth. So if I take all this into consideration, if there's an hike, he's going to increase it by 30-40%. I'm going to put lesser $800, 1,000 ringgit on the table which can be converted back to proper living, proper food, proper movement of my family moving around, education, fees to be paid. So will I want to limit my citizens, or will I want to back my citizens and also protect them? So this is what the Prime Minister is doing. Back my citizens and protect them. And I was able to give what I'm able to give. Not saying that I only want to go one small batch of people, one small group, and give them the necessary part of it. No, he's doing an overall picture to help them out. So if you're asking about people who wants to do a backdoor behind the desk and says, "Change," no. This country has been built upon a beautiful nation concept where solidarity is there, multiracials are there. So if we break and tear down the nation where it's built upon and want to restart something new, the journey is too far ahead. But we have something good happening, going on, keep on going on. That's how the economy will start moving.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we want to take a leaf from what you're saying and from your social media posts, and I'm just going to get to some good comments. We already spoke a little bit about the bad. We'll get to some good comments if you can remember some of those comments. But what would be your takeaway for all of us? I mean, all of us, that there's an inner critic. In Malaysia, we can't help ourselves. We see something, we need to engage straight away, and we need to comment. You'd say it's a worldwide thing, but I think it's a very, very much a Malaysian thing for us. Before we react very soon. Okay, we don't wait and see. So, what would be your takeaway to everyone about the work the Prime Minister is doing, or about what's happened, or about your post?
Okay. First thing is this: we are all very emotionally fast to key in messages, to criticize everybody and all. But we don't actually analyze things to look at what is the benefit to the person itself, or the public itself, or the government. It's actually how is it helping. For example, when the government came into power, the first thing they said is, okay, the senior citizens do not pay medical and coverage necessary. Then they came about the transportation issues solved. Then came about Puspakom inspection solved. So addressing an issue one by one to make public life easier. Mm-hmm. So the takeaway: the government's in power, they are making a change. What we have gone through for several decades, changes are not made, development was forced upon, depends, but it will happen. Now, these guys are doing it in good governance, building a system where everything is going to be transparent. So, who's going to benefit? The public is going to benefit. Mm-hmm. Takeaway: they are the right people doing the right job at the moment.
Right. So, if you can think back of some of the comments that came in, what were some of the nicer comments that you saw after your post? Because we received that from the editor-in-chief of Bernama, and he said, we saw this, and I think it's something we need to get this AJ on. So we had to run helter-skelter looking for AJ's number, and we have you now in the studio. So what were some of the nicer comments from Malaysians about your post?
Okay. I move around a lot on a motorcycle. Mm-hmm. I move around in my work. I meet a lot of people from mama shops to any grocery shops and so forth. There are people who actually came back to me and says, "Are you the person who actually wrote this?" I say, "Yes, I am." He says, "You know what the common man is using, and what do they need the money all about?" I say, "I also was a poor man. I come from a father who's a taxi driver. So we know, we feel what it needs that $100 can do." So the best comment I actually got from one person: "Son, keep on writing. Keep on doing the best you can do. Help those who are in need." Mm-hmm. So what the Prime Minister is doing is exactly the same thing. Help those in need. And we are at the most vulnerable part of our country at the moment. We have a little bit of tensions going around in the country. We have disharmony because the unity government has been challenged non-stop again and again. So, but at the end of the day, for them to put the policies in place, this is the right direction we are looking at. And overall, when you look at it, the plans, the master pieces been put in place like a jigsaw. Ultimately, we'll see a successful country, happy nation, and a good governance in place itself.
Right, AJ, we thank you for doing what you're doing. Keep on writing the good stuff, just so we can keep on keeping on as a nation. We need to move forward.
True.
And I think people like you will make that happen little by little. Thank you so much, AJ, for making your way into our studios here at Wisma Bernama in Kuala Lumpur. And that's a wrap for this hour's broadcast. Don't forget to visit bernama.com and follow us on our socials at YouTube, X, Instagram, and also Facebook for the latest. Shortly, Melissa Ong speaks with author Martin Venkatesan on his latest book about his dad. The Nation's Diplomatic Dispatch comes on shortly. This has been The World on Bernama TV. I'm Jared Ratnam. Thanks for watching. Bye.